Bullshit.
Are you telling the right story at the right time to the right employee? It's the No BS Marketing Show. I'm Dave Mastovich, CEO and founder of Massolutions, the world's only no bullshit marketing firm. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to talk about 3 types of employees. And while we can diagnose us as team members and employees and slice and dice in so many ways, I'm going to take 3 broad categories that I'm confident after decades of experience as a leader and also as being a team member, where the breakdown is. What you as an employee have to do is listen to this and think about how you can receive the communication better. If you're a leader, your opportunity is to communicate better and differently. Because what is happening is we're not realizing where someone falls necessarily, or we kind of have an idea, but we just continually do the same singular type message to groups of people that it's not resonating as well with. So the first group is the peak performers. These are the people that drive the growth at the company, people that live and breathe this part of their career and the company and what they do. They're constantly looking for ways to get a competitive advantage. They often want to have personal and professional growth through self-development, through seminars, certifications, courses. They often want increasing responsibility. They want ownership and accountability. They want promotions. And yes, they want incentivized so they can earn more for doing more. So that group of the peak performers is completely different mindset than the second group. But the second group is equally important, if not more important. The second group are your solid people who are looking for a safe, secure work environment and career where they're going to stay in a company and doing something that they're comfortable with, that they're confident in themselves on, and that they know they can produce again and again and do well. This group cares about their performance. They get nervous if they don't feel that they can do their best work on an ongoing basis, almost every job, every day, every hour. But they are comfortable at that job. They might stay in the same type of job with barely any change in responsibilities or title or accountabilities for a year, 5 years, 10 years, even though they might leave a company. These employees and team members are vital. They are the majority of your workforce in most instances, because peak performers are going to be anywhere from 10 to 20% if you're really rocking it, a third of your workers, your team members. The safe, secure seeker is someone who is very conscientious, wants to do a good job, has confidence in themselves, but they struggle to go outside of that comfort zone, and they struggle when their capacity is winnowing down and they're taking on more because they so want to do their best work again and again and again. When you're communicating and you are saying something that resonates with the peak performer, it might nauseate rather than resonate with the safe, secure, consistent performer. So that second group needs a different message in a different channel and a different delivery to say almost the same thing. I'm not saying to be duplicitous here. That's not what I'm saying. If you're talking about your company, you say this is our core value, this is our big idea. This is our customer's why or reason for buying. This is our why or reason for being. We've combined all that into our big idea. Here's our growth goals and projections for the year. Here's how we're going to do it. When that same story can be told differently to those 2 target markets. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have a story that can go to everybody. You absolutely do. But you keep that story concise and to the point so that you're maximizing everyone in that audience. But when you have the chance to talk directly to a smaller segment or one-on-one, and you have a peak performer, that's a different message, because that peak performer needs to know that you're going to innovate. They need to know that you're going to push for change and growth. They need to know that they have an opportunity to learn more, do more, make more. The safe, secure, consistent performer needs to know that they're going to be able to do their best work again and again. That's very different. So when you're talking about change to them, you still can have to tell the change story, but it's a little bit different story where you're telling them how they're still going to be able to be in their comfort zone most of the time. They're still going to be able to consistently perform at a high level, but there are going to be some differences, and you're going to have to coach them a little more on the change. And trust me, I'm guilty of not always having the right message to the right employee, team member at the right time, because I'm human and I lack the time sometimes haven't dedicated the time, sometimes too busy, sometimes under duress. But time and again, what I've learned is when we take the time to say the peak performers have a different desire and a different message, the consistent performers and seeking stability and safety and security, they have a different type of message. Both are extremely valuable. Then there's the third group, which are people that are there to punch in and punch out. And they might do a mediocre job, they might do a lousy job, and every now and then they'll do a pretty good job. But for the most part, we're hoping is small, and that group can at least achieve the average level of productivity that we want on a consistent basis. That group might have, and often does have, a segment of that group that are naysayers. One of the things that you have to watch, and I learned early in my career from multiple mentors and multiple experiences, is that you have to watch that you don't cater to that team and you don't change for that part of the team, because the naysayers really aren't going to change their opinion. So when you go and you refute their naysaying, they just go and find more naysaying. So that third group of employees that are there to punch in and punch out, and really, they don't want to do a lousy job, but they're not really inspired to do much more than they have to. That group we hope is the smallest of your segments. And that group, we message the same way. We can message the same way as we do the safe, consistent, secure performing group, because that group isn't going to adapt to change. They're going to have a naysayer segment. And the key at the naysayer segment is to contain the naysayers. But you can contain the naysayers by telling the story that overcomes the naysaying to other groups and other segments, because the naysayer is just waiting to get the chance to naysay. So tell that positive story about the change and what the truth is in other means and other vehicles where the naysayer can't shout and create their chaos. So if you look at your three types of team members, peak performers need to have that message about positive change and growth, and how there's an opportunity for them to take on more, do more, be more accountable, earn more, get more promotions, and so forth. Talk about how they play their role and how significant it is. The consistent performer wants to know that they're going to have the opportunity to do their best work again and again and again. They are really a huge, huge part of your success. In fact, they might be 50, 60% of your employees in a good company. A good company might have 20% peak performers, 25%, then 50% to 60% of the other ones. And hopefully that third group of just punching in, punch out is only 15 to 20%. If you get to where the group that wants to just punch in and punch out is 50%, and your consistent performers are 45%, and your peak performers are 5%, that's when your company's going to probably not grow and maybe fail. So you have to communicate differently, you have to recruit differently, and you have to do your message through different channels and different stories at different times for each of these groups. I don't want to make it sound like it's a gargantuan task, because if you have your core stories that of success and of vision and of values, those core stories are easily adapted slightly for each audience. In fact, you do it on a daily basis with your friends and your family and people in your network. You're telling similar stories with slight adaptability based on the audience, because you're adapting based on what you know is most interesting to them, which shows that you're caring about your target audience and shows that you're listening and observing them. So this is not deception. This is not manipulation. This is actually providing them what they want. If they're most interested, if that middle group of consistent performers is most interested in how it's going to be safe, secure, and consistent, and how are they going to be able to perform at the highest level, you point out and say, there's some change going on, but what's going to enable you to do is continue to do A, B, and C, which you do and you do really well and gets you to your comfort level. D is going to be almost the same, but there's a slight little change. And then E is this new idea that we think is going to make things better for you long term. So you're talking about that consistency and so forth. The peak performer you're talking about, look at this positive change. We're innovating. We're ahead of the curve. We're ahead of the competition. We're going to be able to differentiate. You're going to be able to drive this change. Those are both truthful, transparent, and fair stories to tell differently to those two different target markets. So if you're an employee out there, if you're a team member, which of those three groups are you in? Are you in the peak performer that's looking for change and accountability and mobility and promotions? Are you the consistent performer who wants to be able to do well on a regular basis, bit resistant to change but willing to listen? Or are you that third group that is really just looking at work as a means to an end and punching in and punching out? You're going to be very resistant to change. That doesn't make them a bad person. That doesn't make them wrong. That's their choice. And we have to try to help them become at least an average performer and hopefully even slightly above average performer. So that's my thoughts on 3 different types of team members and how we as leaders need to communicate differently with each type, and how we as team members have to admit which one of those we are and be willing to listen and give feedback that's honest and fair, that's always in the best interests of the team, not in the best interests of me. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the No BS Marketing Show. Remember, ask yourself, what's the big idea, and build your story around the answer. It's all about bold solutions, no BS.